بكم متابعينا على حلقة جديدة من برنامج استوديو كوب. نستضيف اليوم شخصية مميزة ومهمة جدا في مؤتمر كوب 28، وهو سعادة السفير نبيل منير، رئيس الهيئة الفرعية للتنفيذ وسفير دولة باكستان في كوريا الجنوبية. نرحب بضيفنا العزيز في هذه الحلقة. Welcome, sir, to our Studio Cop program. For this episode, we're going to discuss very crucial issues like financing and your action plans for this year in conference. But let me start first, Mr. Ambassador, with how did you perceive the progress made in COP28 this year in reaching to agreement on activate the loss and damage fund on the first day of the conference?
Well, that was a major achievement, and I must congratulate the COP presidency, the United Arab Emirates, for doing that, because generally we start the conference and sometimes we don't even have fights on the agenda. And this time we not only had a smooth start of the conference, but we were able to agree on one of the most crucial issues for the developing countries, and something that the developing countries have been asking for almost 30 years. And we were able to establish that fund on the first day. And not only at that, we went beyond, and we had pledges of almost already $800 million for the fund, including the UAE itself, that started it with $100 million. So it's a major achievement, and it's something that has set the tone for the conference as we follow it in the next week or 10 days, that we are able to get ambitious decisions and ambitious actions that actually lead to where we want to be.
Okay, what the role the global stocktake will take this year, and what is your expectation about the final announcement?
Well, the global stocktake, as you know, is mandated by the Paris Agreement. Every 5 years, we are supposed to look back at what we did, what went wrong, and how we can correct that. So this is kind of an opportunity for a course correction. And I think the science is very clear. We are not on the right path to 1.5 degrees or even to 2 degrees, which Paris Agreement has mandated. So there is a lot of new things that we need to do. We need to have ambitious climate action. And our hope is that the countries can unite. As you know, the logo for this COP by the presidency is Unite, Act, Deliver. So first is unite. We have to unite in order to act and then deliver. So we are trying to unite countries together so that we are able to get to ambitious outcomes, not just the least common denominators. That's easy to get, but we want to be more ambitious so that we have a GST decision in which we are able to course correct and decide on what we need to do over the next 5 years and over the next 10 and 20 years even, and so that we are able to leave a planet for our children and our children's children that is really habitable.
And as a head of the SBI, what is your action plans for this year's conference?
What we are doing is we're trying to manage the negotiations. We are trying to guide the negotiations in a manner that we are able to agree to these decisions that I talked about. So that we are, if there are any issues, we go there, we try to resolve them, we try to give the parties the right kind of atmosphere, and we also try to reassure them that their concerns are being met and will be met, so that they are able to be bold in their negotiations and come to right kind of agreements.
What is your recommendation made by the SBI to parties in this year to progress toward the implementations?
My recommendation will be to agree on decisions that keep 1.5 in reach. You know, the IPCC report has very clearly stated that if we stay on the course that we are right now, we will miss the target, and we will miss the target in a big way. So we need to be more ambitious, so that whether it is through renewables, whether it is through trying to control the carbon emissions or the GHG gases, we have to agree on a timeline as well as on a clear path how we can do that.
And what about the goals are considered as ready for the larger implementation push at COP28?
And the goals that are, the Paris has some specific goals.
Okay.
The issue is there is no roadmap. So what we're trying to do is to come up with a roadmap so that those goals are actually implemented.
Okay, and we know that implementation closely tied with the financial and funding. So what solution to funding crisis the SBI embracing?
Well, there's a famous American saying that it's the economy stupid. So it's always about money and a means of implementation, whether it is financing or it is capacity building or it is technology support. All of that is very much part of it. And we're trying to have a very ambitious financial outcome as well. We are already discussing, and there are good news on implementation of the 100 billion pledge, and there is good news on that. But now we have to go beyond that. We have to ensure that we have financing for adaptation, for mitigation, for loss and damage, and all of that has to come through these negotiations, and the negotiations that we will continue over the next year as well on the new quantified collective goal, which is for the next batch of goals for the next 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years.
Mr. Ambassador, there is a very crucial point or details here about the definition of climate finance. There is no agreement yet on defining the climate finance. What is the definition closest to your understanding in this regard?
No, for me, any definition that takes the process forward, which is to ensure that where we are should be worse than where we will be. So things are improving as we go along. And climate finance has to ensure that it helps developing countries in their adaptation efforts and in their mitigation efforts. And the problem right now is that there is too much climate finance going into mitigation. And there has to be balance. And for example, the recent report is that of the $1.2 trillion that have gone into climate finance, 1.1 trillion is into mitigation and only 0.1 into adaptation. So we have to have a more balanced goal so that the climate finance also goes to the things that are important for developing countries.
I will go back to the activating the fund loss and damage. What is the next step after activating the loss and damage fund?
Right now, what we're trying to do is that a board has to be established, a loss and damage fund board. And we are trying to make sure that the elections to the board are held in this COP in Dubai, so that the board is also established, and some of the details that are outstanding now, that will be decided by the board. So the rest of the things will be done by the board, and the board will be established hopefully by this COP.
Is it clear which countries are involved in this board? Or?
No, this board is still to be established. So there will be countries who are interested will present their nominations, and then the COP will decide which countries will go.
Mr. Ambassador, I have a very special question for you. Which is more challenging, or you feel it's more challenging for you, leading the 77 bloc, like Group 77 and China, or head of the SBI right now?
I think both have challenges of its own. It's very hard, and both of them are very close to my heart as well. So if you ask a mother which child is the favorite, it's very hard to answer. So I think they're both very challenging jobs, and I enjoyed chairing the G77 in China, and I'm really enjoying chairing the SBI as well.
Mr. Ambassador, you mentioned earlier that you are working on formulating a program capable of helping parties to accelerate ambitious climate action. Where did you reach in that program?
The discussions are ongoing. I think we will be able to, my hope is that we will be able to get to a good conclusion by the end of the COP. So we have another 9 days to go. So these discussions continue, and I will not be able to give you a clear answer on that. But our ambition is high, that much I can tell you.
Practically, there is one question maybe everybody is asking, is practically how can we manage for a transition to a clean energy for countries and communities? how can these goals be achieved, and what do our support to developing countries need to implement to do this transition in real world?
So basically what we are trying to do is we are talking about just transitions. So just transitions mean that these transitions happen in a manner which is equitable and which fully understands the concept of equity, so that no one is left behind. So what we are trying to achieve is those just transitions, and the energy transition is part of that. So that we do not want to deprive developing countries of their right to development. So so we do transitions while doing sustainable development at the same time.
Where will the negotiation of the global adaptation goal reach this year? And how can you explain for us the importance of these goals for the adaptation, especially for the developing countries?
Adaptation is a priority for developing countries, and global goal on adaptation, we are trying to ensure that just as we have targets on other things, there should be targets for adaptation as well. But adaptation needs financing. So that's why it's a bit of a tricky issue. But we are trying to make sure, and there is negotiations going on right now, to make sure that we have good progress on global goal on adaptation as well. And we are able to agree on something that helps developing countries adapt to climate change, as well as to the loss and damage that they suffer.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining our program's Studio Cop. And thank you for answering these questions. Thank you so much for joining us. نشكركم متابعينا لمتابعة هذه الحلقة من استوديو كوب، على أمل اللقاء في حلقة جديدة. إلى اللقاء.